It's 4 days from Halloween. Welcome to the Remedial Film Class Podcast. I'm your host, Dan.
And I'm Travis.
And I'm George.
Hey, George, how many days till Halloween? I missed the 5 times I heard that song driving over.
It's 4 days.
4 more
naturally.
days.
Yep.
4 more days till what? Halloween?
Till
Halloween? 4 more days till Halloween.
And then 3.
Now, if only I could remember the name of the company that brought us that delightful message.
Oh, it's Silver Shamrock.
Silver Shamrock.
Naturally.
George, you just finished up Halloween 3, the most controversial member of the Halloween franchise. How you feeling, sir?
I'm fine.
Crickets.
Okay.
I'm okay.
Still great.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
He's as animated as Dick Warlock was.
You know what I said when I finished this movie?
What did you say when you finished this movie, George?
Did you guys make me watch the worst movie ever made on
did
purpose?
I did a Doug Peterson. I was like, oh boy.
Oh boy. Dan, what did I text you yesterday after I watched
the same
it?
thing you text me every week, Pinky. George is going to hate this movie.
Yeah. No, I said, holy crap, he's going to hate this movie.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
George, before we talk about how wonderful this movie is, and I know we're going to get to it, but right off the top, you watch Halloween, you watch The Fog as Halloween 2. Does this movie make more sense as Halloween 3 if The Fog is Halloween 2? Or does it make more sense if Michael Myers gets burnt to the crisp at the end of Halloween 2?
It makes more sense if The Fog is Halloween 2.
The science works, guys.
Trust the fungus.
Happy Halloween. We'll see you next year.
Good night.
Yeah, it is very, very weird.
Yeah.
That Halloween and then Halloween 2 happened and then this is Halloween 3?
This is Halloween 3.
What?
Yeah.
It makes more sense that if the Fog was Halloween 2, then you would have established zero continuity between.
Well, if that were the case, yes, you would have to establish that the Blake curse night would be Halloween night. If you're going to do that, it has to be that way.
Or you do one every 6 months. And so you follow up Halloween 3 with, The Fog 2 and do some more springtime horror. That's not a great idea. I don't recommend that. Here's one thing, though.
Okay.
Here's one thing I've always battled, and this is before Eric, friend of Aaron, ever turned me on to the idea that The Fog should actually be Halloween 2. What I always thought was the producers of Halloween 3 should have had the balls to do Halloween 4 like they did Halloween 2 and wrap up this story in a second piece.
Right.
Give me Halloween 3 Part 2 and wrap it all up in a nice little bow for me, and then Halloween 5 can be anything other than what Halloween 5 turned out to be.
But it tanked so bad that was never going to happen.
But it's so good.
Didn't it get removed from the theaters in 1 week? Like, it was not out
so
for long.
Good.
Are you serious?
Yeah. It was like, peace. It came out like 4 theaters and then, no.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it was short-lived.
Now, I mentioned in a Dannon post last week that Travis had sent me the trailers for Halloween 3 in between us recording and me editing. They're pretty straight up on Front Street. Like, this is not Michael Myers. This is a bunch of masks. But I guess when you look at, trailer market saturation, market penetration, would it be market penetration? That seems dirty.
Ooh, I don't know if you can say that. Although the way Tom Atkins' character is in this movie, I guess you can say penetration pretty quickly.
But yeah, that's the thing. I mean, the trailer is very upfront about what they're doing. But if the trailer tries really hard to get that point across, but only 5% of your audience sees that trailer, but then 85-90% of your audience is going in solely based on the fact that they like the last 2 Halloweens. I mean, I get it, but it doesn't speak well of the audience knowledge level.
I think they were just intrigued. I know the teaser was really intriguing. The teaser was just the witch mask, like a slow zoom in on the witch mask, and then a tarantula crawls out of the mouth. There was no footage at all.
I like the teaser, but my concern with the teaser, and this was me, last week, so a lot more hindsight in this, but the witch mask, once you zoom in, it does kind of look like a Myers mask.
little bit.
So you
Until
could
they put those stupid eyes in.
You could be misled that you're going to see Michael Myers get a bug in his mouth or something.
Now, can I...
Well, actually, the mask is the only thing that kind of carries over.
That's what I was going to say. Like, I didn't know when I should say this during this episode, but...
What?
From when I was a kid...
Speak from your heart, Travis.
Okay, when this came out, I felt like... robbed. I felt robbed.
Okay.
But not robbed because I didn't expect it because he wasn't in the trailer. But what I thought they were going to do and they didn't do was I thought that they were going to tie the Myers mask to Silver Shamrock, which they never did.
That's
like
kind of what I thought
and they
would
didn't,
be the case too.
Yeah, and they didn't have to do still have the big three because those Don Post masks are amazing. And I remember when I was a kid seeing the Fangoria magazines and all those masks that were in the showroom, they're all Don Post, like, legendary masks.
Yeah.
All they had to do in that Willy Wonka type tour was have
just one Shatner mask.
Or have 3 or 4 of them, like, lined up on the shelf. Maybe they're, like, first series Silver Shamrock masks or whatever.
Yeah, like have a Silver Shamrock Hall of Fame.
Yeah, which
like,
they had. They had a bunch of old masks that were like a few were like Rick Baker designs. Like they were there, and I thought to myself that would have been the perfect place because they already tied Halloween a few times with the TV commercial, and then at the end they made what's his name watch the movie. He was watching the movie,
which I think puts this movie Halloween 3 directly into the Scream universe.
Right? Yes. But
yeah,
all they had to do because they kind of the robot guys were very Myers-esque. You had one of the Michael Myers playing one of the robots, so there's enough places to tie Michael Myers in visually. Like, I don't know, but I think putting just putting the mask and establishing that the mask is a Silver Shamrock release at some point. That ties him in. It doesn't tell you that Myers did what he did because he was wearing the mask, because that wasn't part of the plan. The part of the plan was that year they were putting these laser chips inside these masks and they were going to murder every kid that was wearing one. That has nothing to do with Michael Myers.
Spoiler alert for anyone who hasn't watched Halloween 3 yet, you bastards.
If you haven't seen Halloween 3 yet, you're probably never going to see it.
Yeah, it's just
so good. You should watch it every year like I do.
Oh, I don't know if that's going to happen.
Am I the only person that loves this movie on this show?
If you're upset that Travis spoiled the movie for you, don't be.
Don't be. I saved you sometime. Believe me, there's plenty of other things I can whine about this movie. And I probably will.
I really like your idea, though. Especially because what you're describing is much more like the Jamie Gum situation, right? We don't know all the details. We don't waste 20 minutes of a movie trying to connect all the dots to perfectly explain how and why these two things tie together. But now that we've established that they tie together, ooh, intrigue.
Yeah. And this movie does tie into The Fog.
Go on.
In what way?
Carpenter said when he got the idea for The Fog, he was in England. I think we're Stonehenge.
England.
That's right, because Clark Griswold backs into it. He got the idea for The Fog from his visit to Stonehenge.
Okay.
Where he saw Fog Bank. And he said to Deborah Hill, I guess I don't know if they were on the trip together, but he said to her later on, wouldn't it be cool if there was something inside the fog? So he got the idea from Stonehenge. And Stonehenge is in this movie mentioned as part of the ritualistic sacrifice of the children.
Yeah, it's pretty prominent. Yeah.
There's a tie-in there. So it kind of confirms, I think, that The Fog should be Halloween 2.
There isn't really a tie-in between the two movies, except for that the director outside of the movies had this experience that brought both movies together.
But they could have said, the other missing stone from Stonehenge was inside the church or something that kind of ties it all together where
There's 2 missing stones from Stonehenge?
No, I'm saying they could have done that in Halloween 3 and said.
Wait, how many stones are missing from
I think
Stonehenge?
one.
Just the
mentioned in
one.
the newscast.
No.
But they were chipping it off.
I mean, in reality, are there any stones
I don't
missing
think
from
so.
Stonehenge?
I think
I don't
it's
know
a
anything
fully
about
functional. It's a fully functional
It's a calendar or
doohickey,
something,
as
yeah.
we would call it out here. Actually,
So
guys, a
there's-
little bit of trivia. That small town that I moved out of recently, Rolla, Missouri, has their very own functional Stonehenge because it's an engineering university, and they're a bunch of nerds.
Isn't it made out of cars, classic cars?
I wish. No, it's just stones. You should check it out
Cool.
sometime if you're ever on Route 66.
Oh,
Go
yeah.
get a picture with Stonehenge and not have to fly all the way to England.
Nice.
What's the scale of
Oh
Rolla's
God,
Stonehenge?
it's probably like 16th scale. Like it's pretty tiny. You know, it's 8 foot tall maybe. So
Okay.
not huge, you know, but still pretty cool that it functions.
Still effective.
But there are no missing stones from Stonehenge.
Only Sharon Stone.
Okay. Second question. Whatever happened with that thing that kept appearing in different places around the world? Do you remember that thing? It was like some...
Is this real life or
yes.
is this in the movie?
Yeah, it was like a couple months
I
ago.
missed that part.
It was like a
Well, like a monolith?
yeah.
Yeah. I don't know what that
Whatever
was.
happened to that?
The guy ran out of gas money and couldn't keep driving around the world putting up his dumb monolith.
Okay, because I was waiting for
them to come and
something to
announce their
happen and
appearance.
nothing happened.
Yeah, nothing happened. Kind of like with this movie.
Hey.
You have to admit, they drag it out for the payoff for a while.
You know how a lot of times you say, Travis, that you're like, I don't like how they gave you the whole plot of the movie in the first scene. Wouldn't it have been better if if there was some mystery to it and you go blah, 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 and then in the end you find out that this, that, blah, 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 blah.
It's fine. Just give me a lot to chew on while we're getting to that point.
So this movie
does the opposite.
It does the exact opposite. No, it does exactly what you always recommend when the plot is given to you in the first scene.
Right.
Right? You're like, they should have done this opposite thing.
Yeah.
And this is that. You spend the whole movie going, I don't know what the heck is going on or why for like an hour.
No, that's fine. That didn't bother me. The problem that
it bothered me.
Okay.
I'm like, what the hell is going on
What made
here?
it boring and what it would have helped you is if the characters that were taking you on that journey were likable and not pieces of shit.
Hey, you know, I'm just going to quote American icon Sarah McLachlan and just say that this movie is, guys, building a mystery. Friend of the show, Sarah McLachlan.
Yes. Friend of the show.
Hey, so George, I have to ask because I've seen this movie a bazillion times. In fact, I just finished watching it when you finished watching it because I love this movie. So,
because science.
How far into the movie were you before you suspected they were robots? And how far were you in the movie when you had first confirmation that indeed they were robots?
Wait, they're robots? I thought they were just like wooden performances.
Ouch. Like, did you suspect the whole time, hey, these guys act like robots? Or did it work on you? Because that's the thing. It's been so long. I don't remember how long it lasts before you know for sure, like, oh, hey, robots.
Oh, okay. So I didn't suspect robots.
Cool.
Because witches aren't robots.
Well,
generally. Okay. So I was expecting witches. I got robots. So I was like, wow.
Westworld, basically.
Yeah, I was like, wow, these witches are like really kind of like Matrix-y witches, right? And so I'm like, okay, well, this is just like it's a weird witch. It's not the kind you're used to. You know, it's not the Wizard of Oz. It's not other movies with witches in them. And when I realized that they were robots, was probably, or when I first suspected was when the coroner or the autopsy side chick was like, they must have sent the wrong bag. There's just like car parts and crap in here. And I'm like, oh, well.
No body. There's
yeah.
no body.
That's when I was like,
See, I was,
And then it was confirmed when
he punched his belly.
he punched his
Yeah.
belly and pulled out some cords.
I was suspicious, but then I was like, okay, there's really bad acting in this movie, so it could be just I'll chalk it up for that.
I mean, it could have just been CIA agents.
Right.
You know, they might not have been. Oh my God!
In the very beginning, when her dad is getting chased, and they catch him in the junkyard.
Yeah.
And he pulls the block out from underneath the tire, and the car rolls and squishes the other guy in between the two cars. The way he died, I'm like, he's not human. Because his reaction, he didn't have a human reaction to the car rolling at him. He just kind of was like, huh. And then it squished him, and he just kind of almost like shorted out. Like, it wasn't like, he didn't have a reaction. He just kind of flopped over.
That is probably the first time it's hinted at.
Yeah, so when I saw that, I was like, either that's terrible acting, which was par for the course.
I thought it was terrible acting when I saw it first time.
But it's purposely done.
Yeah.
Why not both? Hey, so guys, hooray!
Yeah.
They start hinting at like the dangers of technology and the threat, the menace of technology, even at the very beginning, the intro with the pumpkin, because it's very similar to the first Halloween. You know, you got music, pretty cool music. You got a scary pumpkin. It's just in this case, it's a technology pumpkin, and it's flashing in your face.
It's an 8-bit pumpkin.
I don't even. It might be.
It might not even be 8-bit. Was it
2
2-bit?
or 4 bits, man? That's some Atari 2600 ambitions.
Yeah, it was like Space Invaders.
But hey, here's the thing, though. Let's just look at this now. Obviously, George, you didn't mention the car beginning as being a hint toward robotness at first because you weren't there yet.
No.
If you come into this movie, let's just main timeline it. Halloween 2, this movie.
Wait, is Halloween 2
Halloween 2 is Halloween 2. And the straight up regular timeline, it's 1982. You're seeing the third Halloween. You can't wait. You see a guy acting kind of robotically get squished by a car. Your first thought is probably going to be, that guy's acting just like Michael Myers. Only there's 2 of them because there's another one in the car. Now we have 2 Michael Myerses. Like, he doesn't have his mask on.
And then 4?
I could imagine a Michael Myers getting squished by a car and kind of, not thrashing about like he did in H2O.
If when the car was rolling at him, he just did like a head tilt.
Oh, that's what they missed.
And then got crushed.
But he would have jumped onto the hood of that car and then got inside. Like, he was
Mike Myers?
way more agile than these robots.
Yeah, Myers had a brain. He did human things like drive
But they're
cars
definitely
and-
going for the same kind of like slow moving stalker
stoic
attitude. And they do the slow pass with the 2 guys in the car, just like they do with the one with Michael by himself in Halloween 1. Like, they're hearkening back to Halloween 1 quite a bit with these guys.
Yes.
Trying to misdirect. They're not robots. They're ghost spirit zombie guys or whatever it is that Michael Myers is at this point.
One of them is played by Michael Myers, so that adds to it.
Dickie W.
Dick Warlock is one of the featured zomboids, I guess. What the hell would you call them?
Robots?
Were they robots? Synthetic organisms? Whatever. But he was the one that was had his belly punched out and then was the same face was in the elevator the next scene. So then you realized that they were mass produced. He was a featured, like when you saw him, they were purposely.
I didn't
him.
notice that.
Yeah, but when you look at him now,
were the same.
You're gonna see why the Myers mask fits him differently than Nick Castle, because you can tell by this head shape that he's got this huge round pumpkin head compared to Nick Castle.
Friend
but they
of the
were
show,
trying
Dick
to
Warlock.
Right. No, he would even say that, like, that they knew that they were both wearing the same mask. But it was 2 different heads, so the part 2 Myers mask looks totally different, but it's the same mask because Dick Warlock's head is shaped differently. And actually, I believe,
and you know what? That's okay.
It is fine.
People have different shaped heads.
Exactly.
And that's okay. You know.
I think we've talked enough about dick heads. Let's move forward.
Well, you mentioned Dick Hanley a few times, so
yeah.
I love Dick Hanley.
That whole conversation was good radio. Let's keep it.
How excited were you George, to see Tom Atkins back again.
Oh my goodness.
Such a Mac, man.
I almost couldn't contain myself and my bag of potato chips.
I mean, that mustache adds like a 20% bonus to his machismo. Am I right?
Only 20%.
He's like the dollar store Tom Selleck. He's getting them. He's getting them in every movie. He's got that stash, but it's just not Tom Selleck quality. You know what I'm saying? It's not Magnum PI.
I would rate him as like he's a
right
Roger Moore, man. Like no matter what my personal taste would be in men, he's getting results. You know,
he is getting results, but it is in the script. So I'm just saying, he's not a looker.
He's getting
and he knows
cast,
it,
man.
He's getting
cast. What's up? And then Annie's back for the third movie in a row. Either way, no matter which timeline we look at, Annie's back again. Can you believe that, George? Were you excited to see your favorite star from Halloween 1 back again?
Very, very, very much so.
I caught her breathing again.
Well, this time she was alive, so that's okay.
Okay.
It's okay.
Sure.
It's okay this time.
Damn it. I hate making fun of friends of the show. But just saying.
Well, and you know, it's funny. I think I brought this up. Actually, I brought this up in the Halloween episode, and George, you hadn't seen this movie yet. But I talked about how the novelization of Halloween 3, which of course they make after the movie's made, references Chalice seeing Halloween on TV in the bar, but instead of the scene they show, which is like the promo, he actually sees a scene with Annie in it and remarks in the book that she looks an awful lot like his ex-wife.
That's funny.
Oh my God.
That's good.
I love that book. That's a good one. If you can find it, it's only been printed like once or twice, so they're expensive. But Halloween 3 novelization, not much different than the movie, but still worth a read. What the heck?
Well, it might be better in the movie because you don't have to actually see the corny. You're just going to read it. So, saying. Honestly, I was finding the gems in this movie because I'm a purist, and I was always angry at this movie because it's not a Myers movie. So I'm a child of the 80s, and I felt duped. So I get it. In hindsight, I look at it, it fits in the world, but obviously not in the Myers world. But while I was watching it this time, I was making the connection of the Willy Wonka feel.
Yeah.
Which made it better for me. Because I was like, the only thing that would make this even better is if they actually cast Gene Wilder as Cochran.
Oh my God, that'd be amazing.
And he was doing that tour. Because it was basically that scene. Even the kid going, I want a mask. It was almost like the Veruca Salt scene.
Very much so.
So I was like, okay, I can like this movie a little bit more because that's even if that was done not even on purpose, it's a cool little reference.
Yeah.
Well, and even before the tour scene, that drunken hobo, his description of Cochran is essentially of Willy Wonka, only instead of Oompa Loompas, he's got robots.
Robots, yeah.
Robots.
And
out-of-towners.
And then the whole Matrix feel. And the Westworld feel. Like, because I had never seen Westworld until we did the show. So now when I was watching, I was like, oh, okay. It's almost like a college student took all those movies and then took a time machine and saw the Matrix and then made this movie with his Super 8 camera and his friends. And he's like, I'm going to take the Matrix and Westworld and Willy Wonka.
Yo, the mask factory workers are going to be Matrix Oompa Loompa robots.
Mind blown. Yeah.
Mind blown.
And yeah, and I honestly don't remember that tour scene too much. So I might have always maybe fast forwarded through it. I've seen it before, but it never registered that Willy Wonka feel. So that actually makes it a little better for me.
The science is working, boys. The science is working.
No, this movie still sucks, Dan.
Hey, so the thing that I love most about Halloween 3, more than all the other things that I love about this movie, and there is a laundry list. I think I have more good things to say about this movie than it ever deserved. But my favorite thing is the disparate nature of the horrifying, gnarly kills versus the kind of like chill sci-fi action adventure feel of the rest of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
It really feels like a PG, like almost a TV movie for kids. You know, like an extended version of Are You Afraid of the Dark? And then every 20
and
minutes,
then that lady gets
there's like
a hole
an
blown in her face.
NC-17 rated murder kill, and it's just like,
it gave me the parts that weren't gruesome kills gave me a soap opera.
Yeah, because the acting was bad, so it was just a volley. We call it a volley of lines.
Yeah.
Like, there's no acting going on. They know what they're supposed to say and they say it. Like when he comes to his ex-wife's house,
Yeah,
and she's like, the food doesn't leave the table. Like it's just like it was almost robotic. Like all their deliveries were robotic.
Lindsay.
No, she didn't even like what's the word? Punctuate. It was just monotone the way she was talking. So I was like, it was almost like she was one of the robots, but they didn't, like, they planted her in his life a long time ago, kind of thing. Like she was just so robotic, and they were all like that. Even the bum that gives the expose, he was basically reading those lines. Like I don't even think there was any rehearsal time at all. It was just like they were feeding him lines, and he was saying them.
Yeah,
It was
how awkward is that whole interaction? Like, hey man, I don't have any diseases or nothing.
Yeah, can I
get
drink
some?
this?
It's like,
I don't have any
no,
diseases.
bro.
How do you know that, dude?
Like,
it's like 82.
Here's $10. Go buy yourself something.
Yeah.
Like, and also I'm like, okay, this is me. Watch it. This is a weird scene. Can we all agree this is the weirdest scene in the movie?
There's a lot of weird scenes.
All of them?
No. I mean, like, this is like a really weird
Okay.
interaction. You really, really have to suspend reality for the bum scene.
Yes.
The bum with
The bum scene.
the bum with the.
Are we talking about Tom Askins when he gets out of bed and just gives you a full-on view of that booty?
Yeah, we get to see his rump.
No.
That's the bum scene.
We were all leaning forward to see if we could see her parts. I didn't want to see his.
So you're referring to the hobo scene, not the bum scene.
I'm talking
the bum
about
scene
the
is a
sip.
winner. That's gold.
The sip and the buck scene.
Right. Sipping the
Wait,
butt.
that's not really even better.
Oh, jeez Louise.
Hey, I don't have cooties. Can I drink some of that scene?
Okay,
the
that
cooties
one.
scene. Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, dude's trying to find out about this whatever guy, this Cochran guy,
Mhm.
right? So this is a local that's willing to talk to him. That doesn't seem like, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So he's like, okay, I'll give him a sip of my whatever it is, whiskey or whatever, and I'm gonna like make friends with him, and I'm gonna find out what he knows.
Yeah.
Because he's like the only person here that's gonna talk to me. So at first I was like, okay, that makes sense. Even if you you say, here, just take the whole bottle, I want to know about Cochran.
Some info. Yeah.
Right? That would have made more sense.
Because the whole rest of the town did like the Children of the Corn kind of arrival when they were driving through.
So I'm thinking, all right, maybe he's just letting this guy drink out of his bottle to humor him,
right?
Because he's going to use him to get some information. That was me trying to rationalize how weird that was. And then he asks him for $1, and he like gives him $1, and I'm like, okay, he's still just like, just give him the guy whatever he wants so that he'll keep talking so that he can keep learning. But he doesn't ask the guy anything specific or like anything that would move the plot along at all.
He's like Darth Vader. He never asked him any questions.
He's like, yeah. He's like it's just like, yeah. So tell me generally about this Cochran guy.
Right.
But generally, you just want to know generally.
Yeah, like what's his shoe size?
Like, no. What are you trying to find out about him?
Nothing.
Find that out.
Yeah.
Like I don't know. It was just like really weird, and I was like, and that was the point in the movie where I was like, okay, none of this is gonna pay off anyway. Just keep watching until something happens.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
But then eventually, right around that scene, the scene happened. Like when that woman gets a hole blown in her face, I was like,
oh yeah, that was cool.
Yeah, when I was a kid, like that makeup was pretty damn good.
That was very good.
It's so good. It's so gross.
But it is. It's like just watching it today, it holds up.
You know, it's funny. Like that. Yes, that makeup was fantastic.
The laser beam did not hold up, but the practicals did.
Yeah, the practicals definitely did. But then you had another scene, and I'm laughing, like, just thinking about it, of the practical, right? Because, like, at the very end, you have...
a cricket?
No. you have Ellie's arm
Right.
attacking
Yes.
Tom Atkins, right? And do you know what I'm talking about, Dan?
Go on.
Like, it's not a fake arm; it's a real arm.
It's her arm off camera.
It's a real arm, and she's off camera, like right below the screen. And all
Yeah.
I can imagine, like, I'm just imagining her below my TV with her arm up, like she's a puppeteer.
Like Jim Henson.
I'm like, yo, this is so bad. This is the worst practical I've ever seen in my life.
It was as bad as her head laying on the ground, and it's basically just her head in the hole in the ground.
Yeah.
I'm like, they did that in Alien, but it looks so much better.
It's really a shame too, because the drill kill also is like,
Yeah.
they're going for the like, it's worse when you can't see it thing, but we're in a movie where they just blasted a lady with a laser facial.
Yeah.
And like, you really
the first
can't
kill
come
was pretty
back
bad,
from
too.
that. The first kill is awesome.
Like, he pulls his entire face, like his nose bridge
Yeah.
and his eye sockets out.
You know,
Yeah.
here's the thing.
that's
That guy
good.
was complaining about sinus pressure, and that robot was just like, here, let me help you.
It's like, yeah, here's your neti pot.
I do like right before the first kill, though, the killer, who's wearing a suit, mind you, puts on his black gloves. And I'm just
which
like,
is very
"Oh,
jolly,
shit, we're
yes."
doing a Jalo. Jello there. And then boom,
Jell-O.
rips that fucker's face off.
Yeah, and then he wiped his black glove on the curtain, and it was like, it was not 3M blood. It was like 1.5 blood. It looked like beef juice. Like, it wasn't.
I didn't notice that. I mean, I noticed. Yeah, he was wiping his gloves off on the curtain, but I didn't notice the blood being bad or anything.
So then
What I did think was, why the heck is he wiping
Yeah.
his gloves off on a curtain? Like, this doesn't make any sense.
It's not a robot thing to do.
I think it's just like a tactile thing. You're supposed to feel, like, empathize. You're supposed to feel a bloody hand on a curtain, and you're just like, ugh, that's gross.
Well, speaking of that, the scene after Chalice, is it Chalice? Chalice, puts his hand in the belly of the robot.
Yeah.
And then he stands up, and Willy Wonka's standing there, and he's talking to him, Cochran, and he's wiping the juices off his hand. Did you watch that?
Yeah.
Go back and watch that scene, because he takes a tissue out, which probably is going to sop up maybe 10% of the goo on his hand,
Uh-huh.
and he just sops it up, and then you hear it hit the floor. Because he took his whole hand and just pushed all the goo. I'm like, he might have a tissue on one finger, and he's just palming this goo, and you hear it go. I'm like, that was not thought out. Like, why has he got a tissue? Just use your hand.
So good. I
It's like
sent
if
you
you're in
guys a link to one of my favorite scenes, and it happens right after the first robot like self-immolates in the parking lot, which if you look at it, you're like 17 minutes into the movie. You've got a Michael Myers-ish killer who's now burned himself at a hospital. So it's like, okay, the stakes of Halloween 2, we have met in 17 minutes. What are we going to do with the rest of the movie? Which is an intentional choice, and kind of the same thing that Friday 4 does. Almost note for note, right? We're in a hospital. We're going to do Halloween 2, but bigger. In this case, though, the guy ends up on fire, which is kind of cool. Check that link that I sent you. This is one of my favorite things in the entire movie.
The cop in the fireman's hat.
The fireman's hat. Watch his fire department
Floppy.
decal. This guy nods. All he does is nod, and he's wearing a floppy hat. And I'm sure on VHS you can't see it, but man, now that we're in like a 1080p, hell,
Oh
a
my
4K,
God.
the 4K comes out this month. I'm going to be able to watch this movie in 4K, and I'm going to see every intricate detail of that floppy fucking FD sign.
It's like a seesaw on his head.
30 seconds he shakes his head.
Oh my
Guys,
God.
go back and watch that emphatic fireman just going
Oh my
zip,
God.
zip,
That
zip.
ranks up there with the stormtrooper in Star Wars who bangs his head walking into the
Dude.
room, and then he stands over his helmet crooked for like a minute. It's like, dude, fix your helmet.
I didn't notice the flopping FD sign on the hat, but I definitely noticed the hat, like, and I thought, what are they doing with the costumes? What
That's
Are
a
they-
fireman's hat from 1982.
is it?
Maybe.
I,
Is it?
I mean,
Is it though?
Sorry. Sorry. I threw Dan, in there, but yeah.
I mean,
what do you know? You aren't alive yet.
that's true.
I know the toy helmets look like that.
There have been some great advances in firemen's helmet technology since then.
Poor guy's got to wear that
And
costume.
thank goodness, because now their emblems actually stay on the hat.
Think about this.
In 1982, none of the emblems actually stayed on the hat properly. It was a big problem.
Big problem. They had to fix
with
that.
Fire
Get the
departments
unions together.
Mm-hmm.
Sadly, this guy
You can thank the unions for that.
had no lines. Therefore, he gets
he just nods.
he gets no freaking.
Yeah, he
He's not a
counts
card
as an
holder.
extra. That's a shame.
So he's known as the floppy hat guy, and he's got no lines. That's
Can
a
we
shame.
find the floppy hat guy?
We should look him
Go
up and get
on-
him on the show.
Go on Twitter. Yeah, seriously. Go on Twitter. Like,
Maybe
post-
Deborah knows him.
post
I
that
can't say
clip.
that.
like, be like, we need to find this guy. If you know who this guy is, we need to speak with him.
We need to speak
Find
to
this
floppy
guy.
hat guy. I want to
Find
know.
this guy.
We find his IMDb. I want to find out what else he's done
Yeah.
because he's got a Tom Atkins mustache.
Yeah. What other things has he had a floppy hat in?
Oh man.
Well, I don't know if that is proper 1982 fire apparel, but if you want to be sure that this movie is from the 80s, you're not going to have to wait long, because in the next scene, everybody blames the robot's behavior on drugs or something. Everybody thinks he's on drugs.
Right.
That's right.
Just
And
say
then,
no, guys. Just say no.
Chalice smacks a coworker on the ass, and then she returns the favor. It's very 80s.
Those were good times.
Good times.
It's good times.
What do you think about the use of Halloween at the bar, particularly? I mean, it's a commercial for a movie that this is a sequel to, so it doesn't exist in the exact same world, unless it's like a Scream situation. They just happen to name it the exact same thing as the original Halloween that this references.
Name it.
But here's the thing. It is like front and center. I remember it being like off in the distance in the bar. But no, it's like straight up like center frame. Like, here's the commercial to Halloween. Wouldn't you rather be watching this?
Well,
That's a
doesn't the
risky
announcer
move.
of the commercial call it like the legendary something? Like he points it out.
It's
He
a
says,
legit
you got
TV
no
commercial.
Halloween. He's like, you got no Halloween spirit.
No, not the
whatever.
bartender. The commercial
Oh.
voice says something like, "Watch the iconic Halloween," but like he basically plugs it as an iconic film in a movie that come out a year and a half after it came out. So it was interesting. Like most movies, they just kind of put a poster in the background. Like if you're watching Poltergeist, there's
or
a
like
poster on the wall, and it's the director's paying homage to the other people that influence, whether it's like a Jaws poster or like The Thing.
right.
You always see that. Sam Raimi always puts like The Hills Have Eyes in the background because he's a Wes Craven fan.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, I don't know. I think the commercial was too much. I think maybe a movie poster or maybe a newspaper on the wall with like the Haddonfield
Or
murders
like,
or something
like you
on it
said,
would have been
just,
better.
Just a mask in the
Mask in
factory.
the factory
would have been
perfect.
fine.
It's
That
so
would've been all you
strange,
needed.
though, because it does pay off. You know, you wouldn't... When you're watching this for the first time, I don't imagine that you see that scene at the bar with the commercial and you go, ooh, this is a good idea. You know? Because
No.
it's like, it's one of
No.
two things, right? It's either ridiculous that they're trying to be meta in a sequel in the same sort of cinematic timeline as the first movie to like call itself such an important... It's just, it's a big weird thing. Or worse, you hate the movie so far and you're like, ugh, I would so much rather be watching
Yeah.
that movie than this
It
movie.
reminds you. I'm gonna go home and watch
It
Halloween.
was the director.
But then it does manage to pay off at the end, and they do a thing, not to skip to the end of the movie, but we're going to, just for a second here. They make him watch Halloween with the mask on, because after Halloween is the death commercial, and he's going to essentially die in like a James Bondian kind of trap, you know, like, no, Mr. Chalice, I expect you to bug, and then leave. Like, it's whatever. But they do a thing that doesn't happen again in a movie until Scream. So I'm like kind of not kidding. This is like related to Scream. This is Scream 0, right? Before we have Scream, we have Halloween 3. They score the scene with the music from the original Halloween, which is, that's a ballsy move for a movie that is way different.
Yeah, and it's not a Carpenter movie either, so it's almost like, is it Wallace? Is he paying homage? Is he using opportunity because he doesn't have to pay money?
If this happened in the NFL this year, there would be a yellow flag for taunting.
Taunting.
That's what it would be.
Well, I mean, Wallace was involved in Halloween,
whether it's taunting or not,
the
flag's coming out.
Well, speaking of that, freaking Chalice first shot throwing that mask over the camera. I mean, come on. He's like Tom Brady.
Oh, yeah.
He threw that mask with no arm because his arms were tied.
Mm-hmm.
So it was just a flick of the wrist.
Yep.
He should like be a professional frisbee thrower.
I mean, guys, that looked a lot like one of them backhanded underhand over the shoulder Patrick Mahomes no-look passes.
Yeah.
Where you're just like, but how did he even throw it over there? He was looking over there. Touchdown.
Nice.
But also, I like that shot because then what does it do? It establishes that the security camera is now blocked and looks like the opening of the original Halloween. Like, that's a fun, like, that's more meta, right? Like, that's more like,
I like that.
Not quite down
Easter
the
eggs.
middle.
Yeah.
Yeah, more of an Easter egg than like a plot device.
Mm-hmm.
I like that a lot.
Well, now that you're talking about it, this kind of, the whole plot of this movie feels like a Saw movie. A little bit.
Yeah.
The end bit does when he's trapped in the facility and all that.
It's almost like, you have to...
I'm sitting here agreeing with you. I've
never seen Saw.
I've never seen a single Saw movie. But I know of Saw,
right.
so...
But it's kind of like that whole, situational horror where it's like you're trapped and you have to figure out how to, escape room kind of thing.
But at the same time, I mean, the plot line of the movie, if you look at the whole plot, kind of has like a James Bond feel. Like I was kind of joking a minute ago, but really it is. If you had GoldenEye, right? Or even like a Dr. No, right? And then every 20 minutes you had an NC-17 murder, that's this movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is weird to think about, but
it is weird.
There we are. Ooh, one last thing about the ending that I like, not the full ending, but the scene with the security camera and Halloween 1 playing on the TV.
Mm-hmm.
Now that you've seen the end of the movie, Chalice kicks the TV before the resolution of Halloween. So if you had never seen Halloween before, you'd be like, you're leaving me with a cliffhanger. And then the end of this movie is a cliffhanger. Like, it's really interesting how he repurposes the plot of Halloween with his feet.
Oh, see, I didn't notice that because at the end of this movie, I actually kicked my TV. So I wasn't aware that it was a cliffhanger.
Oh, man. That's why we need Halloween 3 2. The return of Dan Chalice? I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know. How many more women is he going to bang in a Halloween movie? That's my question.
Dude.
Does he bang anybody in Night of the Creeps?
I don't think he...
I can't remember.
Does he play the starring role in Night of the Creeps?
He's one of the primary guys.
Is he the primary?
It's more of an ensemble than this one is.
I know of a couple movies where he doesn't get any ass.
What I'm saying is he's a creep.
Guys, friend of the show, Tom Atkins.
Friend of the show, Tom Atkins.
Yeah. He is a deadbeat dad, though. And I mean, not to judge, but as a fellow father, I can say he's a sucky dad. But
he's I'm not going to come home. I got 6 cans of beer and this chicken ones I want to bang.
Yeah, and that's the thing. You're supposed to I think they intended for you to feel for him at the beginning where you're like, but he's a doctor. He's got to go save this guy's life. He can't just be hanging out with his kids or whatever. But then, they double down when he's like, hey, I got doctor stuff. I got to go talk to doctors about doctor things. Right. It's real boring. All right, bye. 6-pack, young lady, car trip.
Why he's divorced is not a mystery. Let's put it that way. She's a block of wood, his ex-wife. But you still feel for her because you can just tell that little scene just establishes that he's a drunk doctor who doesn't have time for his family.
Yeah, I couldn't tell if they were trying to have me on his side or her side because whenever she would talk,
You
I would
hated her.
I hated her. And whenever he would do something shitty, I would hate him. So I'm like, I hate both of these people, and I don't care whether they're together or not.
Yeah.
I feel bad for the kids.
Yeah. I mean, there's no redeeming characters in this movie at all.
Because I have to tell you, I wouldn't be married to her either.
No. She's a block of wood.
And if I was her, I wouldn't be married to him
Right.
either.
Sometimes
so, like,
people just aren't meant to be together, man.
maybe-
Two
maybe
very
this was
fine
the-
people just
Yes,
not
maybe
meant
this
to
was
be
the-
together.
This was the best thing that could have happened.
Like my parents. I sit there and go, they were brought together to make me.
Yeah.
They just didn't mix together, but they
But
did well enough to have 3 good kids.
That's funny though. But I feel the opposite about your parents though.
For the
Okay.
record, though, Travis has 3 siblings.
Yeah, 3 kids.
I
That's
was
what
leaving.
said.
I was leaving one out. That was the joke. You killed it.
Oh.
It was like Travis and his 3 siblings. Yeah, he had 3 great kids.
Stupid
Jerry.
3 great kids and 1 not so great.
Boom, 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 boom.
No, what I'm saying is like the opposite is true for your parents, where it's like your dad's super cool, and your mom's fine, and like I never felt any way about either.
No,
of them.
but they
these
don't.
people annoyed the hell out of me.
Yeah, no, but like if you want to dig into stories, the people have baggage, and
Sure. Yeah.
so their baggage was right up front.
Yeah.
Like I always said, when my dad walked out, I had no idea they were even fighting. Like I was like, wait, he left? What? Because they were very good at hiding it.
Well,
So
and
it's like-
here's the thing I've learned in my many years on this planet, Travis. Some people have a lot of baggage and carry it with them, and some people learn to pack light. Right? Am I right?
Mhm.
They have
Yeah.
1 bag at the motel.
Yeah, we practice a lot.
Do you think
As
it's
in Jersey,
weird?
You say big.
Big.
Do you think it's like inconsistent with the character of Dan Chalice that he's not immediately like, we got to get 1 motel room with 1 big old bed? You know, like he's cool with 2 rooms and like keeps pushing for 2
No,
rooms.
he's not.
Is that an act? Is that some kind of
Yes.
like move
Absolutely.
to
Yes.
make himself look less creepy so as
Yes.
to creep on her harder?
Yes.
I
Hmm.
think they established that pretty quickly by his ass slap on the one nurse, and then his
Yeah.
phone calls to the other nurse, and then her. She's like, "We don't need 2 rooms." And
Although that
he-
line, where do you want to sleep?
yeah, he goes, "You know the answer to that question." Like,
That's a
he's-
stupid question, Miss
yeah,
What's Your
he-
Butt?
and how old are you? Wait, I'll ask you that after I bang you twice.
Okay, seriously, we have
Yeah.
to talk about that line.
We do. We do.
But we have to
That's
talk about it
bad.
in a greater context, okay? So let's take a step back from whatever that line is, and let's get a little Kubrickian, okay? You couldn't do this the first time, George, because you didn't know. But spoiler alert: that bitch turns into a robot at the end. But when does she turn into a robot? The movie, at first glance, would probably tell you that she's turned into a robot right before the final big rescue.
Hmm.
But there's clues throughout the movie if you're willing to pretend that everything is actually meant to make sense. Where you could make arguments that at multiple times in this movie that Ellie is turned into a robot. And then it opens up some really interesting plot questions as to how much she was actually into Chalice or even interested in Chalice's input, or whether she
Right.
was some kind of robotic, like Red Sparrow type thing sent by Cochrane to take care of the witnesses left over. And then you have to ask, how many of these debonair robots are out there taking out the last couple of people that ever saw this event take place for insurance reasons to prevent the interruption of his plot?
See, that would make this movie 10 times better if they established that she was a robot the whole time.
Well, and they don't not establish it, though. I mean, that's the
Yeah.
thing you should, because here's the thing.
They James Gummit.
He meets her at the
Yeah.
hospital, right?
Yeah.
Is
Mhm.
she a
was-
robot then? Probably not. But maybe. What if she's
But
a
they-
robot assassin sent along with those other 2 guys to, like, keep an eye out for witnesses?
Well, they never establish how the process happens. Do they create them or do they create them from people? They never establish
Exactly.
that.
So that's the thing. Is she a robot from the beginning? Just made to look a little bit like Michael Jackson, but not enough that it's, like, creepy?
She's like the dollar store Jamie Gertz. George is looking at me like, who the hell's Jamie Kirk?
I know Michael Jackson, and I agree.
Michael Jackson didn't look anything like that at the time, though. In fact, I'm pretty sure he watched this movie and was like,
I want that hair.
if only.
Friend of the show, Michael Jackson.
Friend of the show, Michael Jackson.
Hey, so that's the thing, right? There's a weird 6-day break. Like,
Travis is cracking up still.
for these movies, for 6 days
one's
to
a friend
pass.
of the show.
He's looking up at us right now and really enjoying what we're doing.
He's looking up.
Do you think he looks like he did in Thriller by now?
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
So, guys.
Oh, shit.
Legit question, though. Like, in what slasher movie or any horror movie have you seen 6 full days pass without anything happening? Like,
Yeah.
Chalice leads 6 days of his normal life, you assume, banging coroners and stuff. Between the time he meets Ellie and then the time she sees him at the bar and they kind of hit it off and go on their little adventure. So that's plenty of time for Ellie to go to Santa Mira on her own, get killed, get cloned, come back as a robot. Also, at the funeral they supposedly see each other at that we never see. Show don't tell movie. Show don't tell.
Yeah.
Come on. Didn't want to have to spend all the budget on all those black dresses because they had to instead make some really questionable.
How bad? Imagine how bad the fireman's hat would be
Oh my
if
gosh.
they had to spend money on black dresses.
Plastic Fisher-Price hat. Oh, shit. Well, they had to pay Tom Atkins' mustache extra.
That's
so,
true. He got a bonus for the
he got a
mustache.
bonus for the mustache.
So that's the thing, guys. The Ellie thing is fun. You can play with it as a plot to see when does she become a robot, because the implications down the road, if she's a robot earlier, pay themselves off in the scene that we were going to get to. And here's why I bring all this up. The first line to her, aren't you just the least bit tired? She's got boundless robotic energy. And that's what leads him to ask her, how old are you? And she says, guys, she says, relax. I'm older than I look.
Yeah.
Which is boundlessly awful. Like, there is no end to how awful that line is just in the world.
And that turned him on. She said that. He's like, hey now.
And here's the thing.
Yeah.
Later on in this movie, you're going to meet a 100-and-something-year-old German robot old lady.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, we don't know how long they've had robots. But she could literally be, that could be a tell. She could be like a 30-year-old robot and look 21. Right? We're saying 21. She looks 21.
Yeah.
But she's actually a 30-year-old robot. Relax. I'm older than I look. Guys, he might be banging a robot.
Yeah. Well, it depends on the detail that they actually put into those things.
I mean, this is a script written by a guy, adapted by a different guy, based on a short story by a third guy. It might be there, guys.
It's Blade Runner.
It might as well be.
But to me, that idea works more if she was always a robot, because I'm not buying into the whole that they're cloning and creating. Like the woman had her face
you're
blown
like
off.
full in, like she's robot assassin banging Tom
She was
Atkins.
a spy. Yeah, she was basically told to tail him. That's what I think. That sounds more right.
Do you think she was a robot in the first scene she's in the movie where she identifies her father? Is she a robot then? Yes, right?
Well, that would make it better, but then she would have had, again, the acting comes in. It's bad acting. Like if she were a robot, she wouldn't really know how to act.
Is it bad acting or is she just a robot?
Right.
I think this is my new favorite, like, bad movie
Theory?
device. It's just, you didn't like the you didn't like the acting in Clerks, guys. Did you miss the first 5 minutes where they explain that they're all just actually robots?
That's why the acting's like that. Dude, I can't stop thinking about the arm. I can't stop thinking
That's
about
an
the
image
arm.
that sticks with you, man.
Like,
Yeah.
dude. It's really, I can't imagine how that scene was directed.
Mm.
You know, all right, so take her arm, just like flail around with it, but not too far because she's got to follow you, obviously, and she's, like on the ground. She's got to crawl around wherever you go. So,
a few years
just-
later, they figured out, Sam Raimi figured out how to do that. But yeah,
how did Sam Raimi do it?
the whole, I think it actually became a Halloween costume where you kind of put the fake hand on your wrist and you use your real hand as the fingers. So it can look like you're holding a hand that's moving like Thing from Addams Family, but it's actually your real hand. And you have like a fake amputated arm on your wrist.
A fake other hand.
So
it
you
really
can
sounds
move
like you're describing a glove.
Yeah, but no, it's your real hand, but your wrist is the appliance. Like there's a fake severed wrist that it looks like your hand is
So there's a fake arm.
Right.
There's a fake arm, and
you do
the
this.
hand part,
Is real.
of the arm is an actual hand.
Yes.
Your hand.
Right.
And there's a fake arm
Holding your wrist.
that your hand comes
And that
out
has
of.
a severed arm on it. So there's it's like the arm is going to your wrist, but your hand is the hand of the severed arm.
It's like the effect where, like you put the actor's body in the ground.
Yeah, Savini does it all the time.
And you put the fake body laying on the ground with the actor's head on it.
Right.
Kind of thing. It's exactly like
that.
But it's just with an arm.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, man. This movie, I can't believe we got an hour out of it.
Dude, this is really like, I mean,
I thought it was going to be a 20-minute episode.
No, this is like, are we going to watch a good movie soon? Because
I hope so.
actually, we're getting really good at podcasting, right? Because of the quality of movies that we're watching.
Right.
Right? So it's actually more difficult to have a good episode.
About a bad movie.
Yeah. Right?
I don't know,
so
man. This movie
I think this is just gymnastics. I think Dan just isn't satisfied with our content, and so he's like, we're gonna improve the show by exercising our podcasting muscles every single week.
Next week is Critters 4.
Oh, jeez. Hey, so
it started with Silent Night, Deadly Night.
Excuse me, Silent Night, comma Deadly Night. So back at the movie we were talking about tonight, the first time you have Cochran anywhere on screen, you don't see his face. He's in a car driving by, but they do that same Michael Myers stalking you in a car drive by, and then they cut to an internal first-person view from Cochran's seat out. I mean, essentially, they make him the new Michael Myers for a minute. That's kind of interesting. I mean, it's like the universal language of slasher movies now to have a oh my God, it's a camera in a car, right? But it's interesting that in a movie where you've already got all these suited killers, now we've like upped the ante a bit and found the boss suit.
Yeah.
I like the motel scene where he's in the parking lot because not only is Tom Atkins a chick magnet, he's also a car magnet as people continually try to run him over. I mean, that's another hint that she's a robot, though, right? Because it's just cars are machines. They can't get enough of him. Robot lady's a robot machine. She can't see. It's all coming together, guys.
But see, the two scenes that are making me think she was not a robot till the end was what was it, when the identifying her father and the scene where they find her dad's car in the warehouse. So I'm wondering, like, those are the two scenes where she shows humanity.
Also, if she's a robot, is it necessary that she shower?
Who gets out of the shower soaking wet and puts a blanket on? Who does that?
A robot, obviously.
A robot.
She didn't even take the time to fully towel off with the implement she toweled off with a blanket. Oh my God.
Yeah.
That was some
odd.
very strange.
But then she was in a negligee when he came in.
Well, it's a good thing she packed a teddy in that teeny weeny bag of hers. I mean, don't leave home without it, ladies.
It's almost like she had intentions.
Oh,
Yeah. Well, she knew he was a womanizer, so I mean, that was established pretty early.
Right.
So.
Can we go back to the parking lot of the motel?
let's do it.
Not the scene you were talking about, where all the cars almost hit him. The scene where it's nighttime, and
The Westworld scene.
yes, and
The cleanup.
the cleanup happens, and they take the lady out, and she's like totally covered, like obviously dead. And they say multiple times that she's going to get the best care.
Yeah. At the factory.
At the factory.
You know.
Oh,
where we
now
make
she's in
masks.
San Diego or something, and she's going to be okay.
That was a good cover, though.
She's obviously dead.
She's at Walter Reed.
Her head is covered. You don't cover the head of a live person on a
Well, you
stretcher.
do when she looks like that.
I mean, I suppose.
I mean, she looks like she was French kissing an
Also-
M80.
Also, yes. Also, they put her in a van.
Yeah.
It's not an ambulance. It's not anything.
Yeah, it's a ped van.
It's a van. It's a full size.
Help me put this lady
Help
in
me
the back
put
of my
this.
van.
Yes, help me put this lady in the van, please. Van.
Why don't you get inside and I'll push it back? Yeah. Crazy.
And then Chalice is like, "Okay, not my business. Let me get back to my room and
What
bang a
is his
robot."
business? What is his whole purpose other than to get in her pants?
I don't know. I mean, like, none of this was his business.
Like, I can understand if he was given the information early that those masks were bad news, and then he knows his children have those masks, so then that kind of drives him to figure this out.
If he was a better dad, that'd be a great plot device.
Right,
true,
but it's
yeah.
like, to me, his whole purpose of taking this trip was to basically shoplift, as they say in Jerry Maguire, shoplift the poon by taking the
That's horrible.
by taking the grieving daughter to figure out what happened to her dad. Like, that's what he did. He shoplifted it. He pretended to be interested in what was going on just to basically get laid. And he was
I
drinking
think-
Miller.
Miller High Life,
Miller High
champagne
Life.
of beers.
It's okay.
Yeah, I don't know. See, again, like, I get mixed things. Like, I don't know what his motivation is. Is his motivation that he wants to get in this chick's pants? Fine.
Yeah, I'm
Is
going to
his-
just
is
go with
his-
that one. That seems to be
No,
the most
no, but
like
hold on.
reasonable.
Even before the chick, there was like, something doesn't seem right about this murder or this dude that flamed himself up in the car.
Mm-hmm.
Like, something doesn't seem right about this.
But he had no vested interest. That's what I'm saying. Like, to me, the tie with his children having the mask, that gives a little sense of urgency.
Right, but that wasn't there at all.
No.
It was a missed opportunity. And so, like,
Well, he does call the house, and Linda hangs up on him. His wife hangs up on him.
yeah, because it's, for some reason, like, people, like, an acting device that was used in this movie was, okay, you're so distraught you don't know how to talk. Go.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
in the scene where the nurse finds the robot just killed the dude, the
Mhm.
first kill, and she's screaming, and he comes down the hallway, and he's like, "What?" And he's like, and she doesn't say a single word.
Right.
And he just knows. He's like, "Well, I'm gonna follow that guy."
Yeah.
Because why? You don't know why. She didn't say anything to you.
Another way to tie Halloween in would be awesome if they established that Chalice had a relationship with Nurse Karen in that hospital.
Oh,
The
yeah.
hot tub
Yeah.
nurse from Halloween too.
Those nurses were way better.
Like, if he was like a traveling doctor.
But then again, yeah, dude. That's why I did. That's why he had no time for his kids. But again, when he was on the phone with his ex-wife,
Mhm.
he couldn't talk. Like,
Right.
It was like his.
Well, can you talk when she's trying to talk? She kept cutting him off, and she was pretty, like, stern with him. She didn't want to hear what he had to say.
I hear, but Dimitri.
I was waiting for it at the end of the
Dimitri.
movie when he was like talking to the broadcast guy. Now, Dimitri, you got to turn off the third channel, Dimitri. You got the first two. Now, I would normally call you just for no reason, but this is an emergency. Dimitri.
So
don't know.
the 6 o'clock curfew applies to kittens as well. Are we on board with a curfew for kittens?
Yes.
It seems a little racist or something.
Or catist.
Specious.
I don't know. Specious.
How come the liquor store was still open
Yeah.
after 6 o'clock?
Yeah, there was a
Guys,
a
this
clerk
is
in there,
a
right?
capitalist society. Like, come on.
I don't know.
I
Seemed
think
a
we
little
need to talk
communist to
more
me.
about the surveillance state because this is an Orwellian nightmare.
Yeah.
But even Orwell did
Actually-
never predict that the telescreens would directly kill people.
That's true. I think that this is not Orwellian, though.
Oh.
I think that Orwell had a way of making the characters kind of like submit to the technology willingly. Right? Or submit to the technology whether it was willingly or unwillingly, but pretend like it was willingly. Right? In this one, the surveillance state is there without anyone's permission and without anyone's consent.
I don't know, man. I mean, here's the thing. If you're going to say that in Orwell, these people have technology that is forced upon them and they either go with it or they go with it, like they either go with it willingly or they go with it because they have to. That guy that grabs his kitten and drags it back inside the house didn't exactly seem excited to be shutting the windows, but he's doing it, whether he likes it or not. I mean, there's a lot you'd have to read into.
Oh, well, when you said technology, I thought you were talking about like the cameras, the microphones, all that stuff.
It's 6 o'clock. It's 6 o'clock. Lock your
Yeah, but I
fucking
mean,
door. It's 6
listen.
o'clock.
It's
I said
the cameras were in public, right? I mean, not all of them, but like, you know, there was like listening devices in places that should have been private that would be illegal, right? You know, like the cameras on the street. I didn't even think Orwell when I saw them because there's like traffic cameras everywhere.
But there
This
weren't
is
in
way before traffic
1982.
cameras.
There's security cameras everywhere. Yeah, I know, but like even then, I'm pretty sure that like the case law is that like if you're in public, you have no you don't have any reasonable expectation of privacy.
But this is where he actually shows himself as a good filmmaker, because it shows the cameras, it establishes the cameras as the eyes and ears of the town,
Mm-hmm.
and they have that conversation with the hobo, and they're whispering the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
Like they're not shouting in a bar, like they're whispering in the corner, and then they show up and they wipe that guy out.
Well, the
Like,
guy does turn and scream, "Fuck you, Cochran.
Yeah.
Kiss my balls," or whatever he yells at him. Like, I mean, there's a yelling part. So you could debate whether
And I'm
the
sure that this
microphones
guy,
are listening to the whispers or not.
I'm
Yeah.
sure that this guy has been talking about taking out Cochran for a while.
Oh, yeah, and he also threatens
just
to
this one
Molotov
conversation.
cocktail the factory. So, I mean, you could even in a just society, you could say that those army of robot guys should probably take him in for questioning and robotification.
Yeah.
But they do rip his head off, guys, and then it like
They do.
squirts a bunch of blood out of him.
It fountains. Yep.
Yeah.
So
His torso
cool.
fountains.
How long have we been recording?
An hour and 10 minutes.
An hour and 10 minutes, and no one friggin' mentioned those two walking behind the cart full of masks.
Those two walking behind.
Chalice and is it Annie?
Ellie.
No, what's
Ellie?
Ellie? When they're inside the facility.
Oh god, that was ridiculous. That was so
And
ridiculous.
And they basically put their hand up and walk, but they have a cart full of masks that they're just kind of walking with.
Right.
It's like
No, you hide behind something that would be moving by itself normally.
it's
It's
an
the
active
Metal Gear
warehouse. It would
Solid
have been
move, guys. They put a
Yeah.
cardboard box over themselves and scooted.
Yeah, they should have done like they did in Toy Story and gotten the orange cone. Like it's just like
Right.
it's a functioning warehouse. They would have been less conspicuous just
Just
walking.
pushing a cart.
Just walk.
Just push a
Put
cart.
a white coat on and walk.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know.
Hey,
That's pretty much.
So we're at the motel scene. It's night. The lady's just had her face wrecked by the laser microchip.
Mm-hmm.
And
Favorite
then
part of the movie.
Finally, Connell Cochran makes his big first steps into the middle of the scene. George, was your first thought what my first thought was that yours should be? The thought that I had that should be your first thought. Did you have the same first impression that I hoped you would have, or did you say, I don't know who that guy is, and then continue to watch the movie?
Oh, shit.
This is the third time we've done this.
With the same actor, I think. We just keep showing him this actor. At least he recognized Tom Atkins. I'm going to give you credit.
Oh, shit.
You eventually figured out Tom Atkins. Now, George, just quick, because I want to check my assumptions. George, where do you know Tom Atkins from?
Oh, I don't know.
Holy
Oh,
shit.
guys, we should have done that up
What
front.
are we
I didn't even
doing?
think to ask him.
What are we doing?
George, Tom Atkins, Dan Chalice, your lead in this movie, mustachioed machismo with the part where he shows his butt. That guy.
Yeah.
Where do you know that guy from as an actor? Where have you seen him before?
I don't know.
Good night. Good night, everyone. Good night.
I don't
Holy
know.
shit.
Where I don't know. Where do
Do
I
you
know
have a
from?
disease that gives you short-term memory? I mean, seriously, dude. We saw him in a movie last week. He was in The Fog.
He picks up Jamie Lee Curtis.
He's the one who, he hooks up with Jamie Lee Curtis and asks her name after he bangs her. I thought we established this.
Dude, these movies were made like 2 years apart. He looks the same except for the mustache.
Yeah.
You just watched him last week.
Holy shit. He was
Dude,
he was in Jackie Brown too.
No, he wasn't. Was he
No,
really?
Oh,
Okay.
well, I don't know. You don't really paying attention. He was the gimp in Jackie Brown. So.
Holy crap.
Oh, shit.
George. Wow. Okay.
What else have I seen him in?
No Country for Tom Atkins.
Oh my god.
Wow.
Insofar, I think these are the only two movies you've seen him in back-to-back weeks.
Wait, let's make it easier for him, Dan. George, when he's in the bar and he sees the TV screen and a man walks down the steps on the TV screen, do you know where you know him from?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, at least we
Yeah.
got that, which is nice.
Friend of the show,
Which
Nick
is
Castle.
nice.
Yeah, it was Nick Castle.
Yeah. Friend
Nick
of the show.
Castle and Dick Warlock in the same movie.
There you go.
Nice.
Two
Wow.
movies in a row, right? Because I'm sure there's flashbacks footage
Jack
to.
Handy.
Yikes! Hey, so wow. Okay, so
Wow.
now that we've
Oh,
established.
so where do I know Cochran from?
Okay, so Cochran, he was essentially the same role in a little movie from '87 called RoboCop.
Oh, yeah.
He's the old man. Now that I've said that, do
Yeah,
you know
he
where
is.
else you've seen Cochran recently?
A very younger version. Much younger.
Oh my gosh, there needs to be a quiz.
I remember you
Oh my God.
saying that he's the guy from RoboCop when we watched the movie, but I don't remember the character.
It was When Harry Met Sally.
No, it wasn't.
He walks out of that car, and the first thing I think is George better be like, General Black is back, Jack, because it rhymes a bunch of things. He's General Black from Failsafe. He
Oh.
And then makes
spoiler
masks.
alert.
Oh.
I'm
After
gonna
he makes
actually, I'm gonna
robots.
bleep that because enough people haven't seen Failsafe yet that they're gonna
Right.
not know that he. I'm gonna have to bleep
Yeah.
that one too.
He bleeps.
Tom Atkins and his mustache.
No, see, my defense here is that Failsafe was so good that the actors
Blended in.
didn't even matter because the story and the acting and such was so good that I didn't see the characters as actors. I saw them as the characters that they were portraying.
That's a
Word.
good move, but I'm not gonna
That's
allow it.
That's my
Not buying
argument.
it.
No. See, and I was just glad they never let Dan O'Hurley near any robots ever again.
Yeah.
You guys are gonna have to make flashcards for
Was
me. or
he in
something.
Westworld? That would have been awesome if
Might
he
have
was one
been.
of the scientists in Westworld.
That
Yeah.
would have been awesome, but no.
No.
You know, okay, so they're shooting laser death bug magic out of Stonehenge.
Mm.
That's a lot to take in at face value. Like, you really do have to suspend some disbelief. But do you
Sure.
think it's interesting that in Failsafe, the same actor is unleashing power and force, which is what they refer to when Cochrane's describing the power of the Stonehenge. He's releasing and unleashing the power and force of a different kind of rock called plutonium. I don't know if plutonium's actually a rock. Geology nerds, shut up. But either way,
Marty.
the power and force of plutonium to destroy Beep, right? Like, that's interesting that in two different movies in the same season, you say that the same actor unleashing what to an untrained eye might be a magical force hidden within a rock. That's kind of cool.
It's like Thanos.
I made you watch Failsafe so that you'd watch this movie.
Yeah, so he's like basically typecasted at this point.
Yeah, the dude
Well,
just keeps unleashing the juice.
Yeah, like his character in RoboCop is Cochrane.
Yeah.
100%.
Mhm.
Definitely. What was his name in RoboCop? Cochrane?
No, he's the old man. What do they call him? He's not Dick Jones, because that's the other guy.
Dick Jones is the other guy, yeah.
He's the other
not red.
guy.
Well, we'll discuss that when we watch it again because it's going to be in George's top 10.
He's listed as the old man. God damn it. I was right.
Damn.
It's weird to be
See?
right and feel disappointed at the same
He
time.
could be Cochrane. They just called him the old man.
Old
The
man
old
Cochrane.
Oh, shit.
Who would have thought that a prequel to Scream was also a prequel to RoboCop?
Wow.
Yeah, man.
Boom.
This movie has everything.
It even has a guy offering sex in exchange for detective work to a coroner.
Yeah.
Like, what? Do a little research on this guy for me. I'll bang
In
you a
his
lot. Okay,
his
you can bang
defense,
me a lot
he-
too.
He said dinner.
He did say dinner, but we knew what they meant.
But it was the 80s,
Yeah.
so
Dinner
Ugh.
meant banging. Which is why.
Oh.
Hey, vey. Beep that.
Hey, guys, serious
Yeah.
question here. I don't mean to bring down the mood of the room or anything, but dead dwarf gag? What?
Wait, what? Oh, doesn't he? That's one of his tricks,
It's
right?
one of his classic pranks. Like, explain to
Mm.
me how that prank works. I've got time.
oh.
Oh, I don't know. Was that the guy that was driving Eddie's RV?
Yeah.
Yeah.
For a second, I thought you pulled into the motel.
That there,
Trav.
Clark's an RV.
How, on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being like, you know, the Cousin Eddie RV, and 10 being like that one on
Spaceballs
The
Winnebago?
Simpsons that Ned Flanders buys that's like got all the features.
Yeah.
How excited were you about this particular RV? Because I know
I
you're
love-
an enthusiast of the
Oh.
recreational vehicles.
When I saw it, I was at that point. My son was in the room, my 13-year-old son, and he's like, "Oh, I love that RV," and I'm like, "So do I," but I love it because it's the nostalgia of it. It looks like Dale's RV from Walking Dead.
You know what
And-
I thought when it rolled into the parking lot? That RV looks like a good time.
Yeah, it's just it reminds me of the old Tonka
Yeah.
Winnebago I had when I was a kid.
Yep.
And yeah, it was perfect. It was like that tan with the green lettering, and it was in good shape. It wasn't all rusty. It kind of reminded me of Lone Star's RV in Spaceballs, but it's not the same make. But yeah, no, I love it. I'm a bigger fan of that than Ned Flanders RV
Land yacht.
land yacht. Yeah, I don't like the extravagant ones. I like the more. Although I think I would like one that kind of cranks out at least one room.
Yeah.
I hear Dan Chalice will crank out at least one room, and then he'll get tired and complain
And then
if
he
you want a
sells ass.
second room.
Mm.
Hey, so guys,
Don't ask me that
Dan
question.
Childs will recommend a second room, but he knows
Where do you want to sleep?
he knows he's banging
Don't
you in
ask
that
me that
one room.
question.
Oh, that's actually a more straightforward. You just said cranking out a room, and I was like, oh, yikes. But
Hey,
yeah,
man.
there you go. 1 room, 2 room. That's a more direct reference to the movie with not as creepy a joke. Good job.
Oh, by the way, your theory, your collective theory on the Fog Halloween 2, Halloween 3, is getting a lot of hate on the horror page. Some people are giving it the thumbs up, and then some people are like, John Carpenter doesn't build universes, shut up. And it's like, I didn't say he purposely did it, but it would be neat. if
Some
those 3
people,
movies were-
man, can't get past the initial, like, brainstem Neanderthal reaction of, me no like, me hate. It's like, okay,
Yeah.
cool, man.
And then after watching this movie, They Live is not too far off from this anthology.
Yeah, man.
So it's like, and like I said before, like even if The Thing wasn't an established movie from the 50s and it came out as like The Thing Within or The Thing from Another World or something, they just called it The Thing, but they weren't making it a remake or whatever.
Mhm.
That fits in this universe as well. So what I said to the guy was, I think John Carpenter maybe accidentally built a universe.
No, I think that John Carpenter makes movies from his mind, and his mind is the universe.
Is the universe. And then I said it's kind of like John Hughes. Like the same high school is used in every John Hughes movie, but he never connects the characters, but they all live in the same area.
Yeah.
Stephen King does the same thing. You know, Christine could be happening in the town next to where Cujo
Yeah, whoever
happens.
is dismissing this theory just right off the bat is small-minded.
Yeah, it's like Gravity Falls. Like everything that happens in this town, you know, Stranger Things could be happening in the same town that Christine is happening in. And the only thing you can connect it with is maybe a corner store that they all go to. Then what's wrong with that? It's not like you're doing character crossovers or anything.
Right.
Hmm.
Technically, all of this happens in the same universe.
Yes.
Hey, you guys have made a few comments, and I'm sure you did it accidentally. I'm sure you didn't mean to insult this movie, but you did. The acting in this movie is something
Don't
that
be
you
so
guys
sure.
were not so excited about. But I'm going to point to one little gem that you might have missed. Or you saw it and you were like, well, they've got 1 point for acting and 1,000 points against. Whatever. There's a scene where Ellie goes to her father's car and she gets surrounded by security forces. The robot guys. And Cochran is with Buddy, older Buddy. And he goes, ha, 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 trade secrets, right? And that, that is what it is as far as lines go. But as soon as he says that, Cochran does like this smile to the guy, and then he slightly turns his head and his face turns to like menace. But it's real subtle and real quick. That scene
That's good.
is good acting. See, there was one.
But see, he's a seasoned actor.
Has he done other things?
He just sounds like he's a thespian. He sounds like he's like a Fred Gwynn that just probably is a classically trained actor and just kind of gets these roles that.
Well, and he was in Failsafe a couple of weeks ago, but George forgot.
Yeah, that's right.
Damn it, George.
But yeah, those subtle things, like I that's the first thing I look for. Like I was listening to the episode, I don't know if it was, I guess the Halloween 2 episode, and George doesn't listen to the show, but there's a part where
No, and I don't know why anyone else does either.
we just lost our one fan.
Oh man,
George.
Come
go ahead,
back,
you were listening to
Alicia.
the show.
Come back.
We were talking about how my issue with Giallo movies is, yes, the story's cool. Visually, it's, filmed right.
Mm-hmm.
But the acting, to me, is terrible.
Yeah, and the voice, the audio doesn't syncing
work.
up. It just really ruins it, yeah.
Some people, in their succession of things they look for in a movie, it's story, it's visual, it's acting. For me, acting's number one, because if the acting's bad, I'm not buying into the visual or the story.
Right.
So when that happens, I get lost. Yeah, I'll still watch it, but like I don't want to give my review of Venom 2, but that came up a few times watching that movie.
Gotcha.
And it takes you out very quickly. Especially when you're in a fantastical world. You want to believe it. You want to believe, but if the actors are doing a shitty job, then you're not believing it. So with this, that little face that he makes, Cochran makes, you look at it and it's like, yes, that's somebody who knows what they're doing. They're looking at the words on the page and they're adding whether the director told him to do this face or if he chose it was a choice. It said volumes.
Yeah, because that actor is with whatever lines are being delivered or whatever situation is happening, that actor is saying, this is what that means to me.
This is the line. My line is yes. That's all it says on the paper.
Right, but what's going on defines what this means to me.
So his little trade secrets and then his face was his version of in Willy Wonka when Gene Wilder says, No, don't. Stop. Don't. Yeah. Like that.
I love that line so much. I mean, you both butchered it, but when it's in the movie,
I butchered it big time. Yeah, but it's like he made a choice. The lines on the paper, and then he made a character development or a character study choice, and the director kept it and or directed it, but it was perfect.
No, stop.
Yeah, don't. It's like, and if a character can do that, and then you get a movie like Willy Wonka where they all do it, you get a phenomenal movie where it's classic forever. Like, I want the golden goose and I want it now. Like that's you can see the line on the paper and how she reads it. You can hear her selfishness and everything about that character in that line.
Yeah.
So if everybody in the movie is going in full cylinders, then you get a Saving Private Ryan or you get Silence of the Lambs. Yeah. And when they're not on all cylinders, you get Silent Night, Deadly Night, and Halloween 3.
Hey, because but one thing I will say about the way that this movie presents, let's say, high ambition, maybe standard delivery. Here's the thing about Halloween 3. It is like if you were at one of those Brazilian steakhouses. Have you ever been to one of those and they walk up with a big piece of meat on a stick and they like cut off a piece of the meat and they look at you like, do you really want a second piece of this? Because there's all these other options, right? Only at this Brazilian steakhouse, the Halloween 3 steakhouse, everybody's just walking around with like bite-sized Snickers bars. You know, it's just candy. It's just garbage, but it tastes good. But then, out of nowhere, some guy comes along and is like, oh, and by the way, here's a slice of filet mignon. You're just like, that's really good steak. Can I have more candy, please?
Yeah,
that's this scene. It's the filet in the middle of candy. It doesn't belong. You're glad it's there. Doesn't really belong in the context, but like because it doesn't belong in the context, it's like a nice surprise.
Well, this movie, it's not Snickers. It's like the stuff that, like maybe a peppermint disc. Like it's not
like the Brock's candy.
Yeah, Brock's candy.
Friend of the show, Brock's candy. It's
like,
caramel,
sort of.
Necco
wafers.
What I was getting at was when I don't know if it was right before he does that or if it's right after they leave. They go back to the hotel.
Candy corn.
Candy. Ugh. Tom Atkins, Chalice, comes out of the bathroom and delivers a line about calling the Marines or something.
Yeah, it's time to call the Marines.
Time to call the Marines. And then she says something, and it was such a bad volley of lines. I'm like this guy, Cochran should not be in the same movie with these people.
No.
And his character was not well developed either, but at least he was making choices that at least showed us that he was not like he called him called her Mrs. Smith when they were talking one time. He already knows who that guy is. He knows he's Dr. Chalice. He knows where he's from because he's got a robot tail on him. But he calls her Mrs. Smith, but he does it in a way where you hear it and you know he knows.
Yeah,
he knows what he knows, and you should know that he knows just by the way he said Mrs. Smith.
Well, and then, I mean, guys, we talked about how they took the piece of the original Halloween and kind of mixed them around, and you got the fog, and then you kind of mix them around and you get Halloween 2. In this case, Cochran is almost the Loomis because he gets the monologue, right? The exposition at the end of the movie, background fill in on the Irish. I guess does he call it Irish or just Celtic? let's just call it Celtic because it's England.
Hmm.
The Celtic background of Halloween as they understand it and as we have forgotten or whatever. And he even, guys, did you catch it? He talks about the festival of Samhain, right?
Mhm.
He says it right. I think right. It may be Samhain, but he says Samhain. And it's like, you know what? It's not Sam Hain. So
Sam Hain.
Jeez Louise. But it's a good monologue. And I think part of the reason it's such a good monologue, again, filet in the middle of the candy meal, nobody else gets to talk. So he just gets to deliver the lines and not have to volley back and forth with, those two.
I can point out something though that somebody didn't get the memo. That Cochran was supposed to be the only actor in the movie. There's a scene where they find out, I guess it's where they find out where Chalice gets out. And the one henchman, the robot, comes over to tell Cochran that he's no longer in the room, but Cochran's doing something, so he's got to wait.
Yep.
Watch that scene again. That guy, phenomenal.
Okay.
It's phenomenal because he goes to talk and then he realizes I'm going to wait because I got really shitty news to tell him, but I'm a robot.
Right.
So I'm not supposed to be thinking this is really shitty news. I'm just supposed to be able to deliver it.
Right.
So he's like basically waiting with his mouth open, just waiting to talk. And it's total choice.
That sounds wonderful. I am going to go back and look at that.
It's a nice little snippet in there. I saw the guy. I'm like, this guy, whoever he is, he gets it. Because even Dick Warlock didn't really, he phoned it in. Like he was kind of playing it. He almost had like that angry face, but it would have been so much better if it was kind of like you saw Alien, but it's been a long time.
Yeah.
So you're not going to really know the reference of Ash. But the character Ash, there's a scene where he tries to kill somebody and I don't remember who it is. It might be Ripley. I don't know. But he's putting a magazine down their mouth. But he's doing it. He's very like forceful, but it's all in his movements. His face is just stoic. Like there's no emotion.
Right.
And that was kind of lost in these robots. Like they were all mismatched, different sizes. They kind of looked, which kind of plays into the whole cloning thing. But some of them were showing emotion, some of them weren't. So it was like they all didn't get the casting call to everybody's got to play this.
It's the Dawn of the Dead zombies again.
Yes.
Damn it.
It's like, everybody bring your zombie costume. All right, you're a bride and you're a groom. Come over here. Like, it was just like, ugh. That's how I felt. But with this, I think it would have been better if they hired like a bunch of people that looked the same or made them look the same. And then they were all just basically Matrix agents.
Yeah.
That would have been more scary.
Or Oompa Loompas.
But some of them look like they could work at Home Depot. Like they weren't really menacing at all. They were just kind of inviting.
Yeah.
So the robot thing is a major cop out, right? Like, oh, they're bad actors, but they're robots. Like you can really fudge the edges quite a bit with that. There's a cop out in this movie though, and it's actually Cochran that uses it, although it's just a scripted line, but he delivers it well. It's when he's talking about the rock from Stonehenge, and he's like, "We had a time getting it here. You wouldn't believe how we did it." And then they don't fucking tell you how they did it.
Yeah.
So funny. Like
it's kind of like looking at the pyramids. It's like, yeah, they built this over 1,000 years, and we won't tell you how they did it.
It's not even that specific though. It's just like, boy, you see that big pyramid over there? They had a time building it. You wouldn't believe how they did it. Moving on.
It's inflated. It's inflated.
So
it's a giant balloon.
So guys, Ellie gets arrested at one point in this movie, and I have to stop and ask, like, does she get arrested? I mean, do we call it detained, right? Because, I mean, she hasn't been read her Miranda rights. There's no charges, right, that we know of. Or has she been hauled in for maintenance, right? Because she's a robot. I kind of get the feeling that it's not Tom Atkins, boys. Here we go. It's Tom Ratkins, and she's just the cheese in that maze. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's a stretch, right? That took a lot of shoe leather to get there, guys.
It all goes to how long has Cochran known about Atkins or Chalice? Because that'll tell you, was she a plant the whole time? Or was she human and then made a plant to watch him? Because they obviously have been swarming that hospital.
Guys.
They know the area.
Guys, when he's in the bar, right before he meets Ellie, guys, he watches a cartoon about a plant.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh,
yeah,
shit.
Turn it.
And then
Speaking
he goes
of that,
and visits a plant with the planted lady after watching the plant on TV. Guys,
shit.
it's all coming together.
Oh, I thought the plant was symbolizing drugs.
Speaking of that, do you know who the bartender was?
I don't.
Recognize him?
No.
It was Johnny Depp.
Stop.
That was Johnny
That's
Depp?
one of the most epic times. That was one of the most epic moments on
Actually, it was John Mayer.
Remedial Film Class podcast history. Actually, the bar scene. If you notice, when Ellie enters the bar, she comes in the door and stops. And it's kind of like an awkward pause. And then she walks up to Chalice.
But it might be because she's bad actor. Awkward pauses will tell you two things, whether it was directed or an accident. I don't know.
And she paused because she had to reboot for a second. She had a little glitch.
She had to connect to the bar's Wi-Fi
Wi-Fi
to save data charges.
Exactly. Right. Exactly.
Oh, shit. Wi-Fi.
So check that out.
So at the end of this movie, after all this has happened, but before the arm part, because that, I mean, you're not going to top the arm part.
Dude, the arm part is the best part of this movie, bro.
Halloween 3, right? This is kind of one of the first sequelitis movies, right? Friday the 13th does it first, does it better, arguably. But I mean, it's hard to argue against Friday the 13th Part 3 being a more successful Friday the 13th movie than this Halloween 3 being a more successful Halloween movie. Nowhere in any of those mainstream sequelific, is that a word? Sequelific? Sequel-titus? Oft sequelized slasher movies. Nowhere do they kill kids. And this movie turns a kid's brains into bugs and snakes that murder his parents. What's George thinking when this kid's head turns into bugs and snakes and murders his parents? We've not seen kids get killed in these movies.
It's true. I didn't even think of that.
I thought nothing of it.
Wow.
I didn't even think of it.
What do you think of it now that you've thought about it?
Because usually you're safe as a child in these kind of movies.
Yeah, it's true. Even
but when you're the prime target of the storyline, can't make an omelet without breaking a few
joke
eggs.
On the children. What the fuck?
Listen, you can't put anything past a robot.
Well, you know what? It kind of ties into the Willy Wonka thing again, because the original book, Wonka is a little creep.
He's kind of creepy in the movie too. I mean, we like him because he's Gene Wilder, but
right,
that's some really troublesome behavior.
But I think he's like I don't want to say he's a child murderer, but he does relish in the torture of children in the book. It's kind of touched on more in the Johnny Depp version, the Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, than Willy Wonka.
That one actually has Johnny Depp in it, though, George.
Yes, Johnny Depp is in that.
I know
he plays one of the squirrels.
I know that.
But
he plays Willy Wonka. If we're not clear,
that's true.
Right.
You don't touch that squirrel's nuts, I think is what he says. Yeah, but that movie's more close to the book, and in that movie, he's a lot creepier and relishes a lot more in the torture of kids. So I'm assuming, since the whole plot of this movie is the sacrifice of children, and him being the Willy Wonka of the movie, and I can't believe I never made that connection before. Thanks, Dan.
Yeah, man. Hey,
thanks for showing me this movie.
For the first time. And how long has it been since you watched Halloween 3, Travis? I mean, I'm sure you don't watch this every year.
No, it's probably been 20 years.
Welcome back.
Yeah.
It's so good, man. You'll watch it next year. You'll be like, man, okay, I'll watch it one more time.
I'm going to watch it when I get home because I want to go check out a few of these little snippets of fun.
Yeah, me too.
You're going to go
check out that arm again.
We got the Wendy theory, only this is the Ellie theory.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now I'm going to watch their performances a little closer. so it's gonna suck even more. But it's fine. It's fine.
I love Halloween 3. Unadulterated love is all I have for this movie. I watch it every year. I make my wife watch it just about every year. She actually likes it, so I don't know what's wrong with her. But
Right.
it's like a yearly rewatch. This one and Halloween 1, of course, every year. And that'll be in your head for the next week. I'm sorry. I've ruined your
Yeah.
Halloween by making your Halloween be full of that song.
Yeah. That song tortured us as children. Because people would go trick or treating and they just start singing that song, and it's like, shut up. Shut up, please.
Do you like that in the final, like, it's, I keep saying final. This movie's got a lot of endings, but the part where he's showing, I guess he's not sure. The movie is showing flashes of different Halloweens across the country. And in that montage, it actually shows the Chalice kids sitting in front of the TV again.
Yes.
And I don't know if it does that on purpose to, like, build suspense, because it does it kind of quick and moves on. Or if it's literally like, oh, hey, we need to fill a few more seconds. Well, we got more kids in front of the TV. Let's use this footage too. But it's that thing where, like, if the movie focused more on Chalice's, like, desire to save his children, that would be such an impactful shot. To be like, oh, and by the way, just as he knows and has mentioned many times that he's worried about, his kids are also going to watch this thing, you know? And instead it's like he mentions it once on the phone to his wife right at the end. That's they dropped the ball on that a little bit.
Yeah, it's a missed opportunity. It's kind of like what we were talking about with the ghost story of Blake. You know, make that priest more.
What he should have
apologetic.
done was went back in time and date raped his mom.
He probably did.
Maybe this is his punishment for doing that.
Yeah.
We don't
Oh
know.
my God. Maybe Cochrane's the father of his children.
Maybe Ellie's his mom.
Oh, fuck.
Maybe he's his own dad.
She is older than you think.
Yeah.
She did say that.
Oh my God.
Did she call him Calvin at all? We're just mixing movies now.
So, George, here's the thing. Bottom line, we've been talking about Halloween 3 now for longer than we've talked about any other Halloween movie except maybe the first one.
How did that happen?
It's fucking awesome. That's how. But can you imagine
No, it's not.
if you saw this movie expecting Halloween 3 Michael Goes to Hell, which would have been your expectation, I think, coming out of Halloween 2, I can imagine you'd be disappointed. Yep. Did we make it better by framing it in context and giving you a better, more appropriate Halloween 2 for this Halloween 3?
Yeah. Yes. You did.
He's answering yes, so we don't go a half hour of trying to convince him.
No, yeah. You did make it better. The movie is in no way good, but you did make it better than if you just threw me into it off of Halloween.
Here's the thing about value judgment.
Ever.
Here's the value judgment issue, right? Smarties are delicious. And they'll kill you if you eat 1 million of them, I bet.
Sure, yeah.
So they're not good, but they're delicious. This movie is Smarties, man. Like, sure, you need better movies, right? You need a Silence of the Lambs. You need a Shining. You need No Country. That's your meat. And sometimes you just need, like, Smarties. This movie is Smarties. You know, going in,
I love Smarties.
It's about robots and Halloween stuff. But it's still fun as hell.
What's good is when he enjoys the meat, but sometimes when we show him candy corn and we think he's going to hate the candy corn, and he goes, yeah, this is the best candy I've ever had. That's my favorite part.
That sometimes happens.
Yeah.
Sometimes
it's not going to be this movie or
circus peanuts, even.
Circus peanuts. Yeah. Like American Werewolf. I wasn't sure. Wasn't sure how that was going to hit you.
I'm going to introduce my friends this weekend to An American Werewolf in London.
Excellent.
Sure it's not Paris.
Yeah, don't get Paris. That one's not good.
That's a CGI nightmare.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
I would never.
OG, and that's it.
Yep.
That's all you need.
Travis, I think we need to tell George about what we're doing next week.
Okay. So next week is a movie.
A movie. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's gonna be like on a T-shirt. Next week is a movie. ...
A movie.
I don't even know how to frame this.
Ooh,
So I'm
I
just
know.
gonna say,
I know.
Okay, go.
So, George, next
So,
week,
George, yeah.
we'll be watching a movie that we actually never planned to watch. In fact, I think Travis and I have had conversations about like, oh, nope, nope. But then, we did the H2O episode, and
Yeah.
George
Okay.
opened his big mouth
Oh, no.
and was like, you know what? I'd really like to see this movie. And I made a face like, oh no. And I was like, oh yes, because for one, it's going to make Halloween 3 look like fucking No Country for Old Men.
Oh, my God.
It's not.
But also,
No.
like, I mean, I should give this movie a second chance, right? Travis needs to give this movie a 15th chance. Eventually, it's going to hit for Travis. And this might be the time.
It's gonna be a good watch because it's gonna be kind of like one of those movies where we go, all right, this is the problem, this was good, this was not, this is the problem, how do we fix it? I think it's gonna be that kind of episode where we kind of retrofit ideas that's gonna make it better.
So next week, we are going to actually extend the fall break on an unscheduled extension past All Saints Day.
Okay.
And we are going to take a long, desperately sad look at Halloween Resurrection.
So it'll be Halloween 8?
Halloween 8, the actual, like, the movie that came out after H2O.
Yeah.
The sequel that H2O got, whether or not it deserved it.
Okay.
So you asked for it specifically. You said, I want to watch that movie. And I thought, ooh. But it's like, we'll do it for you, George. We will bear the burden of watching the movie again so that we can talk to you about it.
It's been a while. It's been since it came out. So when did it come out?
2002?
Oh, really?
Yeah, 2002, 2003. It's like 5 years after.
Okay.
It's like 5 years after H2O. H2O is 98, so
it was
2003.
Yeah. Yeah, I was no longer working at the theater, so I didn't see it multiple times.
2002.
But I had friends over there, so I did go see movies, but that was not one of them that I saw multiple times. So it's been a long time since I've seen it, so yeah, it deserves another watch.
So, George, you asked for it, and we're going to give it to you.
Sounds good.
It can't be any worse than some of the movies we've already watched, so I wouldn't go into it.
Listen, dude, if I can do an hour and 49 minutes and 38 seconds on
that
Halloween
trash?
3, we'll be all right.
Halloween 3 is good. You should all watch it. Goodbye.
After this episode, people that hated it might go watch it again.
It's worth a second look. It's worth an open-minded look, and it's also worth a look after The Fog. Just give The Fog a chance. And thank you to Eric, who is the friend of our listener, Aaron, who last year sometime turned me on to the idea that maybe The Fog would have been a better Halloween too. And god damn it, you were right.
Mm-hmm.
And we have the science to back it up. Look at George.
Yeah. Trust the science.
Trust the fungus.
Fungus.
The science is working.
Dan is a fun guy.
He is a fun guy.
Jeez Louise. All
You
right.
should see some of the texts going back and forth on these movies we're watching.
It's better that he doesn't.
I'm like, I can't believe we haven't watched The Fly yet. Why are we watching this?
We have all the time in the world, and everything will fit
We have
together.
not even touched on Cronenberg yet. Like, what?
Season 3 is gonna be lit, dude. I think we're gonna get away from kind of the stuff the trajectory we've been on. I think we've come to a few different destinations. By the end of the year, we'll hit all the destinations we wanted to hit on this trajectory, and then we can start fresh with a new season 3. I mean, shoot, the stuff we've already talked about for season 3 is just like,
Yeah.
damn.
Yeah.
Damn.
Damn. It's next level shit.